Hi everybody, it is Gaz Jackson and today we are going to discuss snake avoidance with dogs, on how you can actually train a dog with snake avoidance. We're going to look at it the professional way to start off with, and this is with the use of electric collars, and we're also going to look at it the other way, which is the force-free, pure positive way of doing it. Yes, I found I got the information on that. Trying to get it was like trying to squeeze the last bit of pus out of a pimple, but I managed to get it. But before we go there, I'm just going to go through just a quick little recap on how you teach a dog not to go near snakes with the electric collar. And it's so simple. What we do, we start off with a live snake. Now, what I use is an electric collar. We use a live snake in a Hessian bag, and we can place that either in a plastic tub or into like a possum trap for the dog to visualize it and smell it. Now, once the dog goes up near it, we can put it in a controlled environment. We can pulse the dog with the electric collar. It gets more complex than this, but generally the dog only requires 1, 2, or 3 pulses, and that dog says, bugger that, not going anywhere near it. And it works so effectively that you can go back 6 months later, put the snake in a cage down in a different environment, and that dog's gonna go up, smell it, go, whoa, getting away from that, will stay away. We teach a dog avoidance of snakes immediately and effectively and quickly in 1 to 3 pulses. That's it, it's finished. And if you want to continue a little bit further, you can change your location, different locations. You can have different types of snakes, and you can even get snake skin and snake odor and stick that in different areas as well. And basically you pulse a dog when the dog goes anywhere near it, and you will, in a matter of 1 session or 2 sessions, fix that dog completely from going anywhere near a snake. He'll show avoidance. Now, let's have a look at the pure positive force-free way of doing it. And it was so difficult to get the information, but I got it. So I found advertised on Facebook the snake bite avoidance programs, which is pure positive and force-free. So I wanted to find out a little bit more on it. So I just wrote in there and said, the electric collar is brilliant for snake avoidance training. And I got smashed with abuse and people saying I'm cruel and there's better ways of doing it, and I don't know anything of what I'm doing. And finally, I got someone who gave me a bit of advice on what they do over in America. And she says, yes, I used to work at a training center where we used the owner's expression of fear and their response to run or retreat to train the dog. It worked beautifully. I don't know why anyone would assume you'd need pain to instill fear. So she's instilling fear by going up to a snake with the dog and going, ah, it's a fucking snake, and running, and that dog is automatically going to be trained and run away with you. So that's a bit of advice. But I managed to get the program, or 3 programs, from people that are running snake avoidance training and even clicker training to avoid dogs going near snakes. So here it is. Once a snake is identified, I think that's by the dog must be prevented from going out again and re-encountering the venomous snake. So when the snake's identified, he's got to be locked up and he's not allowed back out again. Right, okay. The focus must be on the use of positive reinforcement techniques. Okay, so that's the next thing. Now, preparation before the trial begins, or before the training begins. Now, this is a preparation that you've got to do before you can actually teach the dog snake avoidance. There are several separate components that must be in place before snake avoidance training can begin. A well-trained recall, that's number 1. A well-trained target behavior. The dog should be able to push hard on a stationary target. I don't know why, but they want you to do that. Now, the next one is a well-established kennel behavior, particularly if you need to isolate the animal to prevent him from going back to revisit the snake after the recall behavior. So you recall, you don't want him to go back. Like the recall, the kennel behavior should already be well trained and a reliable behavior. Next one, a self-locking gate. Okay, for your kennel, to prevent the dog from going back to revisit the snake after alerting to its presence. So I think we're going to need that for the dog to lock himself up. Oh, I see a snake, I'm going to lock myself up. All right. Okay, a remote feeding device, of course. We've got to have the feeding devices on it, so dog's going to be rewarded. Sees a snake, get a reward. A remote feeding device. If you want to reinforce the dog for responding to a snake in your absence, some type of remote feeder is required. A weighted lever can be used so that when it is pushed by the dog, it drops reinforcers into the kennel, such as drops Scooby snacks everywhere. The same lever can be designed to trigger the door of the kennel to close and lock. So the dog sees a snake, gets a Scooby snack and locks itself in a kennel. Right, okay, so that's the next step. This is before we even start the training. Okay, now, what do we use? Rubber snakes. Rubber snakes of various sizes and colours that can be used as visual cues for the presence of snakes. Fishing line and other thin string can be used to pull the artificial snake and simulate snake movement. So we've got rubber snakes. Now, what's a dog going to do when it sees, it's going to think it's a rubber toy. It's going to be more excited to see his rubber toy and think, oh wow, it's a rubber toy. More excited to see the rubber toy than a spinster Karen seeing her rubber toy. But anyway, we won't go there. So we use rubber snakes. So you've got to go out and buy rubber snakes from the $2 shop of different colours. We had to line up 18 dogs to test this protocol. So they started off big, 18 dogs they're testing. 5 of the dogs did not have a truly reliable recall or kennel behaviour, okay? 2 behaviours must be well established and reliable before you can begin this protocol. So those 5 dogs, yeah, you can go and get bit by a snake. You don't have a reliable recall, so you can get bit by a snake. You're out of the program, right? 2 other handlers did not have the right mindset, so their dogs were eliminated from the test as well. So 2 handlers, your attitude's not right. Your dog's gonna get bit by a snake, right? We have a dedicated and motivated group of trainers who agreed to follow this protocol precisely. So they're not even dog owners. These are actually dog trainers, apparently. I was able to implement and oversee every step of the training program for the first 3 days. So that'd be about a couple grand there, hiring a trainer. I then monitored and advised the team on progress for the next 3 months. 3 months, 3 days full-time training, supervising these trainers, and then 3 months. The protocol we followed is outlined below. Here we go, 3 months of training. Okay, combine the kennel behavior with the push the target behavior to dispenser reinforcer. So you teach your dog to go and get food from a dispenser. When the dog enters the kennel, he pushes a target and gets reinforced with food. We rigged the target by embedding a remote control inside the target. When pushed, it dispenses a huge, high-value food reinforcer, simultaneously triggering the kennel gate to close. Get the dog comfortable with the kennel gate closing and lock him behind him after he enters the kennel. So you're teaching the dog to lock himself in. Okay, the next step, combine the recall and the kennel target behavior into a reliable linked sequence. Sound the recall. As the animal returns to the trainer, cue the kennel behavior, which leads to the target behavior that triggers a reinforcer. Transfer this behavior sequence to outdoor locations. Okay, where snake encounters would be realistic. An outdoor trail would be ideal. Schedule training so that you are likely to be minimal outside distractions at first, so no people or other dogs. All remaining steps should be trained in real world environments. So now the positive trainers are getting tactical. Okay, great. Next step. Use a cue transfer procedure to switch the dog's current recall cue to a snake movement visual cue. This requires rigging a fake rubber snake on a fishing line, preferably on a long line, so the person who is controlling the movements of the snake is well out of the dog's sight. As the dog approaches, the snake is made to move across the dog's path. It takes practice, and I suggest practicing without the dog numerous times until the movement of the snake looks realistic. So you've got to have a fishing line and a rubber snake, and you've got to run that across your trail over and over and over so it looks realistic. Immediately after the dog notices a snake, sound the very reliable recall cue. Whatever that is, what would he say? It's a fucking snake. I don't know. But anyway, over the next few days, practice this sequence several times in new places and after various lengths of time on the trail, it usually takes 4 or 5 repetitions for the dog to respond reliably to the snake's movement as a new cue for recall. So now it's not a visual a recall. Now the dog basically is not you saying it. The dog just has to see the snake, the rubber toy going like this, and that's its trigger for it to run away. Okay. Introduce variety of snakes' appearances as soon as possible, using different sizes of snakes and assorted colours. Varying speeds of movement are important as well. You want your dog to recognise any visual appearance of the snake is a cue to recall. Many dogs are taught to recall back to the car. A few handlers take a self-locking kennel with them on the road. So you go for a walk out the bush, you've got to pack up your kennel and your remote feeder and your self-locking gate and set that up next to the car, so then you can take the dog for a walk through the forest. Right, good. Return to trainer. Probably the most common alternative is to teach a dog to recall to the handler. The handler should have a target of some type that the dog can touch to indicate that he's coming back after encountering a snake. This alternative is a simpler option since you're not concerned about the handler or trainer not being present. So basically, the dog comes back and touches you with something like this to say, I just saw a snake. And okay, right. What's the greatest distance achieved when asking a dog to return to the kennel? In snake avoidance training, we always approximate a full mile. So obviously the dog's off lead as well. However, we have seen 3 dogs respond at distances close to 2 miles. As the distance increases, you run the risk of the dog losing motivation or forget the reason for running. It's like, oh shit, I saw a fucking rubber snake and he ran 2 miles. Particularly if the dog encounters distractions on the way. Oh shit, it's a sheep. It's important to work up to those distractions. One of the keys to success is make sure the reinforcement for coming back from the snake is a very high value. So he sees a rubber snake on a string, runs 2 miles to lock himself into a kennel next to your car, then gets a reward with food at the side of the kennel. This is fact. This is what they're telling people to do. It's just okay. And here's the final part of the force-free, positive or pure positive only training. Were live snakes used during the training? Live snakes were not part of the original training plan. However, during the training, we had several live snakes donated to our project. Oh, bless their cotton socks. We tried using the live snakes during the training, but they proved very uncooperative, and ultimately we did not find them very useful. How the hell are they not useful? You're trying to teach your dogs to show avoidance of snakes and that, and you've got live snakes there and they're not useful. I've got to find out why they weren't useful. Each time we tried releasing a live snake to test the dogs, the snake slithered quickly into hiding and was not useful for our training. Who would think that you put a snake out, he slithered away? Who would think that? That is how you train the dog using pure positive, force-free through these brilliant trainers. You have 3 days with a professional dog trainer full-time that's going to cost you a fortune there. Then you have 3 months with 10 trainers working the dog, teaching the dog to run away from a rubber snake being pulled on a string, to run up to 2 miles, to go to a kennel that you've set up outside your car, and so he's off lead. He runs in there, he goes and grabs his high-value Scooby snacks, locks himself in the kennel and waits. And if he doesn't do that, then when he sees a snake, he's got to run back and press his nose against you to say that, I just saw a snake. So that is how you train a dog, the force-free, positive-only way of doing it. So it's your choice. If you wish to train that way because you don't like reality and you're a bit of a snowflake, then yes, do the positive-only training. It is useless as tits on a bull. But if you want to do it the right way, use an electric collar. You'll fix a problem in 1 session, or you can spend 3 or 4 months and tens of thousands of dollars paying these extremists on how to teach a dog not to go near a snake, which is going to be 100% fail. Anyway, I'm Gaz Jackson. Bye for now.